Hello my friends, thank you so much for being here. Today's video, very straightforward idea. We're going to talk about the best makeup e.l.f. makes. And this is the kind of video that does need to be revisited periodically because they do come out with so many different products all the time and it can be kind of hard to stay on top of the newest things. But I feel like I really have used the vast majority of the products e.l.f. has come out with, and I'd love to share the things that really work the best. And they will come together to make a full face look, so I thought let's just do it that way. First thing, the tweezers. Do not sleep on the tweezers. They used to be $1 tweezers and I thought I had like world's best kept secret by loving these and buying these, but now they're $2. Whatever. It's still a great value. They're just a basic slant tip tweezer, but they are better than my Tweezermans. I would prefer to use these any day of the week. I tweeze my eyebrows and my unibrow every single day, and I have a backup pair of these that I like keep in a travel bag, so whenever I go somewhere I won't be without them. Like, that's how important they are, that's how much I love them, so it's one of the best things e.l.f. makes. Second, let's talk about this moisturizer. This is the Holy Hydration Face Cream. I do have the fragrance-free version, but they have a, I guess, fragranced version. This is with hyaluronic acid and peptide complex, and this face cream surprised me so much when I first got it. It's definitely one that is in my rotation of daily use face creams. It's thicker than you would expect. I, for one, really do like some rich face creams. I like a lot of moisture. I think it just really makes all the makeup that goes on top look its absolute best when I've got a nice amount of moisture. But this is also coming from someone with a normal to dry skin type. Also, right now in the summer months, I feel like it can dry out my skin even more, but a really nice face cream underneath everything can work wonders. So I love the Holy Hydration. I mean, it's literally, it's gonna be one that creates the stiff peaks as you put your finger into it. I just imagined that it was gonna be something really, really light and like a gel cream product, but it's rich. It's not going to be quite as thick as your Bobbi Brown vitamin enriched face base, but at the same time, it's going to really leave your skin feeling very, very nourished. I'm also going to throw on a sunscreen real quick. This is not e.l.f., this is Supergoop, but just hang on. Here's another thing I'm realizing is a major e.l.f. must-have, and it's this sponge. Now, it blows up really big, like bigger than most normal-sized sponges I have, but I want to zoom you in. I just want you to see the texture on that sponge. I'm not sure if it's really showing or not, but it's super soft, okay? Squishy as can be, but it reminds me more of the actual texture of a real original beauty blender than just about anything else. Like a beauty blender, sometimes I don't know if I'm describing it right, but it's a bit more porous on the outside. If you compare it to a Real Techniques sponge, that is really, really soft and spongy, but it doesn't quite have as much, like just a little bit of texture on the outside. And there's something about that texture that really like pushes product in, works it into the skin so effectively. It's just a very, very subtle quality about an original beauty blender that I love, but I feel like this e.l.f. one has that too. It's got the shape kind of a Real Techniques sponge with this big flat side, but I'm really finding that this reminds me so much of a regular beauty blender. So that's going to come into play here as we put on another must-have, the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. I wear this in the shade Light Peach. Absolutely love this stuff. It may be my overall favorite concealer right now. I love the coverage level. I like the moisture level. And today we're actually going to use it as our only coverage product. So that's exciting. So we've already moisturized and everything, and I'm just going to give myself a couple of dots here, a dot out here where I do have a little melasma coming in because it's just that time of year where it likes to make its presence known. And I'll do a little on the chin for some brightening. This is going to be a definite like brightening shade, but it's all really going to come together for the look because I've got a little contouring product as well. But I'm just going to dab it in with this dampened sponge. And I just love that coverage. Love that for me. Sorry, I've been watching Schitt's Creek. We just started that show over the weekend and I'm obsessed with it. I love it so much. Pressing it around the sides of the nose. It's just kind of amazing how beautiful this product can look. Basically all over the skin. I mean, I'm mainly just catering to my problem areas like under eye and whatnot, but I love it. And I was wearing this alone the other day, just in this very same manner, and the staying power was beautiful all over the skin as well. Okay, so here's where we're at, having blended all that in. I think it looks so good, like surprisingly good. There was no foundation on my face, just a really nice coverage concealer that's also not making me feel too dry. Love it. Here's another product you must have from e.l.f. It's the contour palette. This is going way back. I love that some of these products are newer things to e.l.f.'s line, but some of these things are absolute classics. And the contour palette is really nice because it basically has like a setting powder in there. It's got something with a little bit of glow and then like bronzer and contour. It's really great. And I love using my e.l.f. small tapered brush. You guys know I use this every day with non-e.l.f. products too, but I'm gonna just take that matte light powder and go over my under eye to set it. There's like a trifecta of e.l.f. face brushes that I use all the time. It's this one, the complexion brush, which you'll see me use in a minute, and then the blush brush. And what I really love about those brushes, what I love about this video in general, is that I wasn't like digging deep for these favorites, you know. They're naturally just great products you should know about. So I just used this matte powder just to set basically everywhere where I did the concealer. Then I'm going to take this one that's a bit more brightening. It's got a hint of glow. And I'm just going ahead right now and dabbing that on top of the cheeks. It just kind of seems to set off that area a bit more. Then we're going to use the complexion brush. This is an awesome size for all over powder or contouring. And I'm going to take the bronzer type shade, and we're just going to perk up the skin tone a bit. So we are going to actually place this where the sun naturally hits, top of the cheeks, across the nose. Just taking it across the forehead. So now we've gotten a little more sun-kissed, and then we go to this contour shade. And this just gives a little extra dimension. This whole palette can also create the most naturally contoured eye if that's what you want. It's not just that the tones are right, but the textures are very soft and pigmented here. So they're going to surprise you. And this is a long time favorite that I've talked about for years. Now let's talk about products in e.l.f.'s line that call themselves primer infused. There are primer infused bronzers that are absolutely excellent, and also primer infused blushes. They have a shimmery finish, a matte finish. This one has shimmer, and this is called Always Preppy. This one just always surprises me because I love that cool light tone that it has, but you won't expect it to show up as beautifully on the cheeks. There's just a little element of surprise with this one, so this is the one I like to put on, but you really cannot go wrong. If it says primer infused in terms of the bronzers or the blushes, there's some amazing products. They're super soft, just a gorgeous texture, really well pigmented, a nice range of shades. There's some really rich shades, there's some lighter ones, and I think it's really cool that they came out with the ones that have some shimmer infused. But just take a look at how beautiful this is. We are using the e.l.f. blush brush, which I swear by, love it. Pick up a little bit, tap off the excess. And what we're going to come into here is just the absolute freshest looking cheek. I mean, how lovely is that? Even though these certain ones have shimmer, it's not really like a super glowy effect, just a subtle glow. It's primarily about the pigment of the blush. That's kind of what makes it so fantastic, but I love that look. Oh, it's so fresh. Again, that's the shade called Always Preppy. Then we're gonna do some setting spray. e.l.f. has a couple that are great. I really like their coconut one. It reminds me a lot of like the Too Faced Hangover Mist, but better. That one seems a little bit more about making your skin fresh and dewy, but the Makeup Mist and Set is probably the most effective one for enhancing the staying power of what you've been applying. So let's go ahead and use that. I really love this stuff. The little bottle looks like nothing, like no big deal, but the sprayer is so nice. Really nice fan of even mist. You're never gonna end up with big unsightly droplets all over your skin. And then also, here's one thought at this point. I take this sponge. I just started doing this the other day and I was like, oh, I really like the look. You know, you've got this sponge that's already been damp and you've applied your setting mist, and then you just kind of bop it all over the skin. And something about that, everything looks so one with the skin. Now, we don't have a full foundation on too, so that might be contributing to why this feels so fresh, but man, am I loving the way that skin looks. Another one of my favorite e.l.f. things is a brow product. I've used a lot of different brow things e.l.f. has done, but the Instant Lift Brow Pencil, which is $2, is really fantastic. It's a little bit thicker than like the ultra skinny pencil that they also have and that many brands have, and I wear this in the shade Neutral Brown, but I know I've commented a lot that it can make for a little quicker fill-in, really, not being quite so tiny of a tip. And this is going to have your little spoolie on the opposite end, so I just kind of fill in those places where I know I need some evening out. The texture is really nice. It's not too soft. You know what I mean? It doesn't lay down too much product in your brows as you use it, but at the same time, you're not working hard to get it to transfer. So it's a quality product. I love it so much. I've gone through multiples of these. I have a fresh one right now, and I believe it is the brand's top selling brow product. Okay, so I just brush on through. Here's a little e.l.f. hack that does work for me, may not work on everyone's eyelids, especially if you've got super duper oily eyelids, but take a little bit of the hydrating camo concealer, and instead of like getting it off the tip, which is holding a ton of goop there, just go off the side of the doe foot, pick up a little bit of product, and then dab that across your lids as eye primer. It's gonna have just enough moisture to kind of grab the shadow, but if you put it on in this way, I never feel like I over apply it. Plus you get some coverage here. You're really getting nice kind of neutralized lids. Eyeshadows from e.l.f. I know these bite-sized palettes are super hot right now. These little quads, that's really what they are. They're quads. Quads have been around forever. Yes, these are good quality and they come in at $3. That's a great thing. And I think it's kind of cool that quads are making a bit of a comeback. But if I were to pick out like the best eyeshadow product e.l.f. is doing right now, I really feel like it's probably their new Classics palette. This contains so many like standard, basic, important shades in really, really nice textures. And I'll tell you what brought this back into the spotlight for me was hearing Jessica Braun talking about this in the palette tag video. And I was like, oh yeah, I have that. I need to try that more. It's got some beautiful shimmers in here. It's got some really nice basic mattes. If you're an all matte eye look kind of girl, you can absolutely put together a full matte look here. You've got black, you've got dark brown. Really like this shade called Muse. I'm just drawn to using that a lot. It's kind of a plummy brown. There's some beautiful shimmers here that aren't like crazy flaky fallout shimmers, and even a really unique like spring green. I kind of love that that's there. Charmer, this shade's beautiful, this mauve. So for this look, I'm going to start out with this shade called Charmer here, this mauvey, kind of murky lavender color. I really, really like it. It looks somehow really natural coming from the crease, and it's just a really perfect tone. And I can't get over the pigment and the easy blending of these shades. It's gonna really blow your mind just how easily these mattes blend one into the next. And I'm taking this all the way in to my innermost part of my crease. Thinking of doing like a bit of a halo eye. I don't do those in like world's most intense way. So see how like when this color shears out in the crease, like it looks so meant to be there. Does anybody know what I mean by that? Like it is offering a little bit of color, but it's such a classic neutral kind of shade. It's a new classic. Gosh, just spot on. Love that. Then I want to come out from that a little bit. I'm going to use the shade called Truffle, another matte, and just kind of use that on the border, sort of transitioning out from that shade. Like I just cannot get over the blendability of these mattes. It's so lovely. Then I'm going to take a little bit of Muse, and this, I'm going to point this out as definitely another must-have brush, the flat eyeshadow brush. This has kind of gotten out of my rotation a little bit recently, but this brush is great for the controlled application of powder shadows or cream shadows for that matter on the lid. It's got a nice little tapered up point. Anytime I've used a Sigma E60 in a look, this could be used as well. So I'm going to go into the shade called Muse. This I'd call like a deep brown with a little bit of plum. And I'm going to pat this on the outer part of my lid, and I'm also going to put it on the inner part of the lid too, because we're doing kind of this sort of halo eye look. Sometimes I say like, oh, that's not my favorite style of eye look on me, but then I'll look back on those videos and think, yeah, it actually came off pretty good. I just don't go too dark on my inner part. I would tend to go darker on the outer part. But the idea is that you're leaving kind of a little space in the middle for a bit of a spotlight. So instead of the lightest part being right around here, like I might normally do, the lightest is going to be right in the center of the lid. e.l.f. has a really affordable brush called the Eye Crease Brush that's a nice, just a little more compact size. I'm going to go back into Charmer. I'm going to really try to focus that shade right in here on the inner part of the lid and crease, just to make sure we kind of have that area covered. For me, that's the tricky element of this style of eye look, is really focusing the shadow where you want it on the inner part. And then right on the center part of the lid, I love this color called Glamour. It's so beautiful and pearly. And that, I'm just gonna dab. I feel like I have so much control using my finger. I'm just dabbing it there right on the center of the lid. How beautiful is that? Look at that contrast. I mean, I just love this palette. It strikes me as something that would be a really nice, like bridal palette, you know, just the neutral nature of it, but it doesn't go insanely warm. It's definitely got some warm elements to it. It's got a beautiful rose gold here, but it's got some cool as well, and it just makes me think of a really well done classic palette. The only thing, if I could pick at it for a moment, the only thing I'd say is like, I'd like it to be a little bit more sturdy construction. I have so many palettes that have this sort of clear window style, and yes, maybe that's part of what's keeping the price down, but I would love it. Maybe they could come out with like a special edition that had a nice hard top and a mirror or something. This top is hard, but it's just kind of, it's not the sturdiest thing ever. I'm also going to use this little eye crease brush, and I think I'll take some more of Charmer and just use that to very, very gently give some definition on the outside. Maybe Charmer and Muse together, because this brush kind of like diffuses it more than I would normally have, more than a pencil brush, let's say. But how lovely is that? Smoky, smudgy. It's a little bit of both right under here. I just adore this palette. Incredibly easy to blend, the essential colors you need, a few little interesting twists. Okay, now in the interest of time, I'm gonna throw on my mascara. I don't have an e.l.f. favorite mascara. That's one area where they just have not been able to hook me yet. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then we'll have lips. Okay, we've got the mascara on. Now we're gonna go to lips, and this is probably the biggest newcomer to me in this video that you're gonna hear about, but it's really impressive to me. It's the Seriously Satin lipstick. It looks very simple, very basic, but it's kind of a unique formula in that it goes on like a creamy lipstick. It doesn't dry down completely like various matte lipsticks would. It keeps some sort of creaminess, but yet it's not so creamy that it would rub away. It's still kind of locked in there somehow, but it maintains just a little bit of mobility. Hard to describe, but I've got a couple of really earthy shades in this. I've got the color called Nectar. It looks just like a real nutty kind of caramely shade. And then also this color called Cider. Both of these might be nice like fall colors. I don't know. I'm gonna use maybe a little combo of the two. I think I'm gonna apply Nectar over most of the lip area. As far as the shape of the product, it's just like a standard size lipstick bullet. And then I'm gonna do a little bit of cider here. We'll do some cider toward the outside. You know, I take that back. This isn't just fall. This kind of makes me think of summer sunset. Might look pretty with some bronzy looks you might do. So here's what's really interesting about it. There's some creaminess to it. So if I go, I can still feel it there on the lips as a cream, but it lasts a really long time and just doesn't have the same like quick tendency to transfer off like many other cream lipsticks would, but it doesn't feel as dry as a matte. Way to pick something that requires the most extensive description. But friends, this is my look. I hope you enjoyed my take on my favorite products from e.l.f. In my opinion, the best things that they make, and some things that you really need to make a point to check out. You may not have have an actual need for every single thing I've mentioned, but if you're like, oh, I need a new moisturizer, or I need like some new face brushes, I think there are some amazing directions you can go from this brand. They're very accessible. You can get them in Walmart or Target with your drive up or pickup orders. Just really impressed with so much that e.l.f. is doing, and I think it's kind of amazing that the full face was able to come together only using these things, and I'm super duper happy with it. So thank you guys so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you soon. Bye.